You know that piece of ginger you probably have in your kitchen right now. It feels so common, right? Almost mundane. But I'm going to tell you, its journey from a farm to your plate is anything but. Today, we're diving into the incredible story of a global spice powerhouse you would never expect. So let me start with a quick question. When you think of the world's top ginger producers, what countries pop into your head? I'm guessing it's probably not a place famous for having the highest mountains on Earth. So, which nation are we talking about? And the answer is Nepal. Yep, you heard that right. This Himalayan nation is the fourth largest ginger producer in the entire world. It's just an amazing story of agriculture thriving in a place most of us just associate with trekking and mountaineering. So, how in the world do they do it? Well, it all comes down to a concept the French call terroir. It's that unique, almost magical combination of climate, soil, and geography that makes a place absolutely perfect for growing something specific. And for ginger, it turns out parts of Nepal are a paradise. What's so fascinating is just how specific these conditions have to be. Ginger needs that warm, humid climate, a very particular sweet spot for temperature, and a ton of rain. But here's the secret sauce. That one dry month right before harvesting, that little bit of stress is actually essential for developing those high-quality, really potent rhizomes. It's this delicate balancing act that nature just happens to perform perfectly in the Nepali hills. Of course, the right environment only gets you halfway there. The other half is the incredible skill and just plain hard work of Nepali farmers and their craft. It begins with a surprisingly high-stakes investment. Okay, so check this out. Before a single sprout even appears, farmers are facing a massive hurdle. The seeds themselves, the rhizomes, can eat up nearly half the total cost of planting. That is a huge upfront investment. Now, keep that number in mind, because it explains this absolutely brilliant strategy these farmers use later on. And this is not just, chucking some seeds in the ground. The whole process is meticulous. They select the absolute perfect rhizomes, they treat them to prevent disease, and then they plant them with this really precise spacing. And after that, it's just constant work. Mulching, weeding, and something called earthing up, which is piling soil around the base of the plant. It's a true craft. So the ginger plant takes about 9 months to fully mature. But the harvest isn't just a single event at the end. Oh no, it's a process, and it involves some seriously clever economic thinking. Okay, so the growing season starts with planting in the spring, and then the final harvest for all that big, mature ginger, that happens in the winter. But what's really interesting is what happens right in the middle of the growing season, around July to September. They actually do a second harvest for something called the mother rhizome. So what on earth is that? And this is just brilliant. It's the solution to that high seed cost we were just talking about. The mother rhizome is the original piece of seed that was planted. By carefully digging it up mid-season, after it's already sprouted the new plant, farmers can recover up to 90% of that initial investment. They can either sell it or save it for next year. It's this totally ingenious way to manage their risk and their cash flow. All right, so once the final harvest is finally done, a whole new race begins. Fresh ginger has a really high moisture content. We're talking 80 to 85%, which means it can spoil, and it can spoil fast. So get this. Using just standard, conventional storage methods, farmers can lose up to 20% of their entire harvest to rot. Just think about that. That's a devastating loss after 9 months of incredibly hard work. There has to be a better way, right? And there is. Instead of that potential 20% loss, a traditional method called pit storage cuts that number down to just 5 to 10%. I mean, that is a massive difference, and it comes from centuries of knowledge being passed down. And the technique itself it's beautifully simple. Farmers dig a pit in a shady spot, they insulate it with husks, and then they layer the ginger inside. A simple pipe provides just enough oxygen to keep it fresh without letting it rot. This low-tech but totally brilliant solution lets them store hundreds of kilograms of ginger for up to 5 months, which gives them time to sell when market prices are actually good. So we've gone from the soil all the way to storage, but what happens when this amazing ginger finally hits the global market? Well, that's where the final chapter of our story really begins. You see, Nepali farmers face a huge challenge: price volatility. A lot of it is driven by competition from the massive Indian market right next door. But there's also a huge opportunity. Countries like Pakistan have a really high demand for quality ginger. So the path forward It isn't just about growing more, it's about focusing on producing the absolute highest quality ginger and really promoting it for export. And this quote really says it all. For Nepal to really capitalize on this unique gift for growing ginger, the future lies in quality and in marketing. It's a story of combining ancient agricultural wisdom with modern market strategy. So the next time you grate some ginger into a dish, maybe it's worth asking, what other common foods in our kitchens have such an uncommon and ingenious story?